Thank y'all for having us today. My name is Afya, and today me and my husband are going to talk about love and fit hop, 7 principles that we've learned being together for 22 years in our relationship.
Yeah, we're one on the way. Well, first, before we get started, man, I'm just wanting to say I'm thankful to be here. This is a powerful, powerful school, and the legacy. You know, when I'm sitting in the Huey P. Newton room in a college. That's powerful, man. You know what I mean? Power to the people, and I'm just thankful, you know, to be in this space with y'all, chop it up a little bit, have a conversation about life and about love, and a little bit of fit hop. Anybody know what fit hop is? Take a random guess by the name of it. Basically, fit hop is a genre of hip hop, right? That focuses on holistic health and fitness, right? So if you ever heard of the straight edge movement in the punk scene, which is like vegan, hardcore, sobriety, but punk music. So fit hop would be you know, a brother to that. You know what I mean? In hip hop, hardcore hip hop, but positive lyrics about health and wellness. So that's what I do outside of Dead Prez, of course. I'll give you a little example. My mind is infinite. I think and grow rich. The gym is my religion. I pray on the bench. The reason why I train, I want the power and the strength. Won't stop, won't quit, till I'm swollen or ripped. I cut off the liquor, laid off the spliffs, had a paradigm shift like I met Morpheus. Now I'm outside the matrix, back to the basic. Tank top, sweatpants, old pair of Asics. You come to the gym, you got to pay your dues. The body get weak if the body don't move. I train for the, well, I'll leave it at that. That's fit hop. So we're gonna get into it, man, and share with y'all these 7 jewels that we've been learning, hard earned.
Yeah, you know, we're not trying to be like we're some experts or anything like that. We're just sharing with you things that we've gone through that have kept us healthy and happy these 22 years. So throughout the talk, we're going to ask you guys to write some things down and participate, you know, as you can. So if everyone can have something they're going to write with, their phone or a sheet of paper, that would be awesome too. So
By a show of hands, raise your hand if you're in a relationship now. Okay, right on.
yeah.
7, okay.
So, just to give you a short background about us, we met a long time ago. I was going to FAMU, Florida A&M University.
Our mascot was the dinosaur.
He was not in school, but he was on campus all the time. So at that time, I was really into, you know, Black consciousness, and there was a poetry meeting held by the revolutionary poets. And I went, and this guy was on stage doing poetry, a poem called Run Nigga. Like niggas run for all this different stuff, but they run away from revolution, something like that. So, you know, just like in the movies, and everything goes black, and there was a spotlight on this guy, and something said, you gotta speak to this dude. So I was, you know, young, 18. I was like, what? I gotta talk to this dude. Where is this energy coming from? So I just went, spoke to him, and told him I liked his poetry. At that time, I was real rebellious. I was against all designer labels. He had a hole in his shirt, which I thought was real cute, because that meant he didn't really care about, you know, all the designers and stuff. And then that's how we met. And then ever since then, we're pretty much hanging tight. So.
Talking on the phone, So when we first met, you know, I was a part of this organization called the Black Survival Movement. And we had been inspired by reading about, you know, the Panthers and whatnot. And in our neighborhood, we didn't have nothing like that in North Florida. So we started training in the local hood, and we would do canned good drives and, you know, military conditioning and, you know, whatever little things we could do at that age. And we came across some information about a concentration camp program called the King Alpha Plan. Have anybody ever heard of that? Okay, so get your Google on. King Alpha Plan. It's a program kind of like when the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor, and then the United States government put Japanese people in these camps. So the King Alpha Plan was the black folks camps, right? And it was supposed to be in the event of a revolutionary outbreak, etc. And at that time, we learned about that. We had those packets Xerox, and we were sharing that at the meeting, and people were signing up to get that information Xerox. And so
this was before the internet.
yeah. There wasn't no internet back in the ancient days. So long story short, she put her phone number on the list to get one of them plans, but I was like, now I got her phone number, kind of. And, but I had to, you know what I mean, I had to keep the protocol, so I went, you know, calling everybody on the list to make an appointment to get them their plan. And we started chit-chatting a little bit, man, and 22 years later, man, you know what I mean? So I remember this one time in particular, there was a jazz program going on, and she went, and we bumped into each other, and they had buffalo wings and celery and carrots, you know, and so I'm going in, it's free food, and I bump into her, and I see her plate, and it's celery and carrot and no chicken. I'm like, where the chicken at? You ain't get no chicken? And she was like, I'm a vegetarian, right? So then I was like, wow, that's another level, you know. So those some of the beginnings of meeting and just digging into each other. I felt like this somebody I could grow with, just based on how she was living.
And so after that, we just talked for a long time, and then I had to go back home I'm from Minnesota for my internship, and we talked the whole summer. So we kind of grew our friendship before we had any type of intimacy or before we had sex. And that kind of brings us to our first principle, which is friendship, right? Friendship is very important when it comes to a relationship. You know, you gotta be friends first. And we were able to build that friendship. And even though we were attracted to each other, we were able to kind of build our foundation on having a friendship first before we just lusted after each other and had sex. And I think that kind of really helped our relationship to grow and flourish from that point.
Yeah. The friendship was, you know, the foundation, our common interests, you know, the things that outside of just the physical, you know, just her perspective. Like, we had one of our first dates was a double date with one of my homeboys and one of her homegirls, and we was at IHOP, right? Doing it real big, right? And she ordered, I remember she ordered blueberry pancakes with granola in the pancake. You know what I mean? I'm from the South. I'm like, what is that, right? But I just always know she was conscious of what she was eating. And then you know, she pulled out coins, and she lined up the quarter, the nickel, the dime, and the penny. And then she was dropping it on us like, now why is Abraham Lincoln the one who supposedly freed the slave? Why he looking the other way on the brown penny, you know? And she just had to do a political mind too. So, you know, all these things, I wouldn't have had a chance to even appreciate if it was just about hitting it and, you know, whatever. So it was just those conversations and things like that that allowed me to see, you know, there was more there, you know what I mean? So it's like, how my analogy of friendship is to a relationship is like, If a relationship is the Chicago Bulls, friendship is joy. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And, you know, I was young, but I also had standards, you know, of the type of person that I felt like I wanted to be with. And at that time, you know, I had to be with someone who could have a conversation. Not just, oh, it's all about sports, it's all about TV, and we just kiss and hug and have sex and that's it, you know. Also, they had to be about their community, you know, and care about something, you know, and then they had to have some kind of goal, you know, in their life. So these were kind of standards that I had that helped me, I think, to even bring us together. And I think that's important too when if you don't have someone like right now, to think of what are your standards, you know, and things that you're looking for to have in a relationship as well. So. And they say it's important to be friends because people who spend 5 or more hours together a week have the most successful and happy relationships.
So to sum it up, I'm say it like this. When I met you, I admit my first thought was to hit. 19, all I knew about relationships was having sex, no strings attached, doing my thing. But something in your eyes told me you was my queen. Something I could feel in my vein but couldn't explain. Since the first time you told me your name. Throughout the years, all the joy and the pain, all the tears I caused. Right with me through it all, that's how real you are. It must be love, because we be working hard for this. We have arguments, but we still a partnership. There's many planets in the sun's universe, but only one that brings forth life, and that's why you my earth. With your Chuck Taylors in your jean skirt. Don't want to see you with your feeling hurt. Love take teamwork, and you and me, we more than lovers or friends. We comrades, and we down to the end. Yeah.
So, here's our first question, something that for you guys to write down. If you're in a relationship, right, what are 2 things that you guys do together as friends?
When we talk about relationships, a key point is working on self, you know, building the you in the us, you know, and that can never be overlooked for many reasons, you know. Self-development is continuing to give yourself a reason that you appreciate living, continuing to expose yourself and try new things and challenge yourself so that you have conversation to bring, you have information, ideas, resources, you have a life, so to speak, you know what I mean? And that you don't lose yourself in your relationship, you bring, you know, a lot more to the table. So for us, we've seen that, being that we both are passionate about different things, you know, and that allows us to feel fulfilled within ourselves and be less clingy and needy, and you know what I mean? You know what I mean? When it comes to, you know, just living life, you know what I mean? You know, we can be 2 strong, you know, people coming together and feeding each other like that. So.
Self-development is also working on your own personal stuff that you need to work on. So sometimes you might be too critical, or you might talk too much, or you might get upset too easy. You know, we all have something that we need to be working on. So that's also part of what self-development means, right? And they say a relationship will help you to become more emotionally mature than anything else in your life, because you are spending that time with that person. And say if you live together, or if you're together all day, every day, you see the small little idiosyncrasies of that person. And at first, you know, the first couple months, it's all love. Then you're together for a little while longer, you're like, dang, that gets on my nerves. You know, so it really helps you to grow, you know, and then they say your partner is the best person who can tell you about yourself, right? But also help to lift you up at the same time, right? So it's good. It's good to have self-development because, like you said, you become your own individual person. As a woman, I know a lot of times you will hear, I've lost myself, and once you get older and you get married and you have kids and you're working, you just kind of lose yourself in that life instead of saying, you know what, I am my own human being on this earth outside of all of these things. So it helps you to just be you, but also be in a partnership at the same time.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story about self-development for me. Early 20s, smoking weed, getting drunk, you know what I mean? That was the rap lifestyle, and that was something I was trying to get my rites of passage on, you know what I mean? And that was, you know, that's what we was doing, and that was what I thought was fun, and that was part of the lifestyle. And I remember waking up one morning in Brooklyn, and my ankle was swollen, like I had ankle weight on or something. And it was hurting, and I fell down standing up on it. And come to find out, when I went to the doctor told me I had gout. Y'all know what gout is? Anybody? Well, tell people.
Gout is a disease that you get from eating rich foods, like lobster, shrimp, and all that type of stuff. And what it does is, once it gets into your system, you lose your toes. Eventually, you lose your toes. They have to cut them off because it's real stuff. My daddy has gout, but he has a medication. If you have a medication, you're fine. If you don't have a medication, it's bad. And like it's bad.
It's painful. What he just described, gout is what the technical definition is uric acid, right? From things like burgers, alcohol, smoke,
Soda.
Standard American diet, build up in your system, and your body say, I'm trying to work with you, dog, but you ain't helping me. So let me push some of this somewhere. Your liver can't get rid of it fast enough, so it starts to push it in your joints, right? And then, so in my case, it pushed it into my ankle, and it just started building up this acid from just my lifestyle, right? And it swelled up, right? So boom, I got gout in early 20s, like wow. And like my man said, the doctor was like, I got the pill for you. You about to be on my payroll, and you keep coming to me and keep doing what you're doing. And my wifey, instead of saying, yo, why you ain't taking care of yourself, yada, yada, all that, she was like, I got you, right? You're going to become a vegetarian, right? And she was, in fact, no, you're going to become vegan. She was a vegetarian, and she said, I'm going to become a vegan with you, and we're going to heal you naturally, no medicine, right? So she put me on a whole gang of spinach, herbs, organic cherry juice, which is sour as hell. And all these natural things, and I was like, wow, like food is healing. This is the pharmacy, the pharmacy. And long story short, I got the gout, said I'm out of here, this shit's too healthy right here. And I started taking martial arts for 10 years, Wushu Kwan, Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do, African martial arts, Ile Jala, Egbo Room, boxing, hot yoga, started running. And it just changed my life totally because she saw an opportunity to help me develop myself, and that's what partnership is about.
All right, so yeah, number 2 is self-development. So our next question is, what's one personal interest or passion that you have outside of school or work?
And the other part of the question, or the other question, is what's one thing that you need to work on?
Whether you get mad too easy, procrastinate all the time.
That's 2 or 3. What number is that, 2 or 3?
This is number 2, principle number 2.
And the question number 2.
2.
For principal.
I didn't hear the second part.
Oh, what's one personal thing that you
I got
know?
that one.
You got that one?
And the one after that.
That was it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Personal interest.
Your interest was one, and then what's something you want to work on?
I have actually got a question for y'all. I mean, changing, like I know how it is, like you said, you had gout or whatever, and it was like you were going through a change. How were you as a man able to deal with the changes of yourself, going from eating meat and doing all the things to change into becoming vegan? Because I can imagine how hard it is. Like I'm trying to go right and I eat bread. I'm struggling every day, you know what I mean? But how hard was it for you mentally to change, make that change?
Well, with her support, you know, with my ankle looking like a rhinoceros leg, I had a lot of good motivation, you know what I mean? But I like a challenge, you know, I feel like challenge is part of manhood. And I got plenty more room to grow today, you know, but I realized that life will hit you with challenges and change, and that's called maturing. So it's certain things that you're doing that bring you to points or rites of passages. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of accepted it like that, like it's time to change. And I saw it as an opportunity. Like my health can be like when I'm 6 years old now. Like I'm running around kicking and Bruce Lee and all that. And I was just smoking and drinking and all that, you know. So I totally opened my life up in a way that I wouldn't have if I didn't have gout. You know what I mean? So I look at it as a blessing in disguise, really. You know, it's not what happened to us, but how we respond to it. Yeah.
And just to say something, you don't have to be a vegan to be healthy, right? But we all know that Black men and Black women die the most from heart disease. We got, how many people do we know that have diabetes and cancer and all of these things, right? That we're getting younger and younger and younger because of just what we put in our body, right? So it's just about one day at a time, one small thing at a time, and it's more than just I'm taking things out. What can I add in to my diet that's gonna help to balance me out more, right? How much water am I drinking a day, right? Are you drinking 64 ounces minimum? You know, do I eat a green vegetable with every single meal? You know, am I eating fast food or am I not eating fast food? You know, so those kind of things are kind of little ways to start, you know, with changing your diet, because it's not going to happen overnight. You know, his was an extreme case, but I tell people to just start with one thing at a time. Stop eating candy, you know, stop drinking soda before you're just like, oh, I don't eat meat. You know, these things that I think are worse for you than eating meat, like fast food, candy, and soda and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, one more thing, like for me, like stopping smoking weed, right? That was big. That was like fried chicken, right? So, but what I did, I went from no more blunts first, right? So it was just papers, you know. It was a step, and then and I stuck to that. And then I was like, all right, I ain't gonna smoke no papers. I'm gonna smoke an apple. And I ain't trying to give y'all no ideas, but that was me. And then I was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? So I kind of winged it up. You know what I mean? So that's all you got to do. Look at it like a challenge and rise up.
Okay. So we're at number 3, principle number 3, which is called the 5 love languages.
The 5 love languages. I'm so happy to share this, man, because I feel like if there's one message that we can share today, this one right here is potent and practical. 5 Love Languages is a book by a guy named Dr. Gary Chapman, Chapman, and it's so awesome because his basic concept in the book is that we all express love and we all comprehend love, right, in different languages, right? So, for example, let's say you have a husband who is a handyman. Keep the cars, you know, oiled up and the rims shine, keep the grass mowed, and, you know, this is his way of taking care of the family, right? Taking care of the yard, the car, and all that. Let's say you have the wife, though, is like, yeah, he do that kind of stuff, but he don't never say I love you. He don't never touch me. You know what I mean, etc. So, and that's what she's looking for, to feel love, right? So no matter how much the grass is cut, no matter how shiny the car is, she's not going to receive that as a fulfilling as far as the love language that she's looking for, right? So what Gary Chapman did was kind of identify 5 areas, right, that most people express and receive love and comprehend it. And he devised this quiz for us to figure out what is our primary language of love that we recognize and that we need, and then what is the language of our partners, right? Because it might not be what we think. And so the 5 languages that he broke down are words of affirmation. That's one. Encouraging words, say it, verbal. The second one is quality time, being together, doing things together. The third one is acts of service. So that's doing the laundry, keeping the car right, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash. The fourth is physical touch. We all know what that includes. And the last one is gifts. Nice gifts, things like that. So those are the 5 love language categories in general, and I'm sure there's more. But we found that those are a good range, a good categories. And I found out that her love language, primary one, is acts of service.
And his is all 5 all the time.
Yeah.
So he says. But in reality, they're really, it's really words of affirmation and quality time are his main 2, even though he says all 5 all the time.
I'll take a high 5, But,
So 5 love languages is important because they say your love tank is either full or empty, like your gas tank is either full or empty. And so the more that you do these things for each other, the more it fills your love tank. The more you feel loved, the more closer you get. And this could also be with your parents. How do your parents talk to you? Or how do you deal with your parents? It could be with your kids as well. So even if you mean the best and you feel like I'm doing what I feel like is showing you love, if that other person doesn't receive it, it's kind of like it doesn't matter to them, even though you feel like you're doing your best, right? So it helps each other to communicate, and it helps each other to feel more loved as well.
like, for example, who feels like their main way they feel appreciated and loved is gifts? Right on. Who feels like their main love language would be words of affirmation? Right on. How about physical touch? I'm with you, dog.
Well, okay, can everybody,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so you can see that everybody don't have the same language. You know what I mean? So it's important to know, even with your friends, how do you feel loved? Because then you can get right to the point and do things that have more of an effect, for that person.
okay, so can everybody write down what they feel like their love language is? And if you're in a relationship, write down what you think your partner's love language is.
And then, you might have more than one, so it's to help you is kind of like, look at it like, I could not do without that one, you know what I mean? But ideally, we probably all can appreciate all of them at times.
Okay, and you can also go to the 5lovelanguages.com, And they have a quiz on there for you to figure out your love language as well. fivelovelanguages.com. And they have a good quiz.
And it's also good, we'll get into it a little later, but it's also good to do it with your parents. You know what I mean? Homies. You know what I mean?
Okay, so moving on to number 4. Number 4 is nourish each other. Nourish each other.
That's the fourth principle. And you'll see some of these overlap. Nourish each other, you know, what that means is recognizing the power that we have to build or destroy our partners, you know. Recognizing that the sunlight, the water, the soil, you know, that we cultivate with them, you know, is what they use to grow and be strengthened. And so we have to be conscious of the things we say, you know, conscious of our attitudes, conscious of our criticism, you know, conscious of the way that we respond to our partners, because obviously it affects how they see themselves. You know, it affects how our partners are processing life. And so we want to look at it like we're here to assist each other and give that kind of nourishment so that we can grow strong and you know, be a betterment to each other and not a detriment.
So ultimately, nourishing each other means how are you helping each other to be your best selves, right? How are you helping each other to be your best selves? Because anything you say actually affects the other person. So if you're always talking down to your partner, they might actually become insecure, you know. But if you're always giving them encouragement, they can help and get their goals reached, do more things, just be more positive in life. So helping each other to be your best selves.
So, let me see where we at on our notes.
Okay, I had a client, and kind of going back to what he was saying as a man who wanted to lose weight, right? But she felt like her husband was not supporting, right? She needed to change her diet. She wanted to work out, but since she was the main cook in the house, her husband was like, yeah, but I still want to eat fried pork chops, and I want you to buy them Little Debbie cakes. And she was like, but I need your support and I need your help. You know, I need to be able to I can't make myself food and then try to make you and the kids food, and I need you to come work out with me sometimes, and all of that stuff. And a lot of women ask me, you know, does your husband eat the same way you do? You know, does he do the same things you do? Because that is such an important thing, to have someone in your house who's going to be there and be supportive. So even if things might be uncomfortable for you to do, if you love the person that you're with, you will take the time to do those things with them. And 9 times out of 10, you both need to be healthier too, you know, if that's what you're trying to do. So that's important, and that's a way that you can nourish each other, and an example of being supportive of each other.
And keep it real though, with all of the best intentions, with all the nourishment, there's still gonna be some drama. There's gonna be some conflict, there's gonna be disagreements, you know, that's life. And I think it'd be fake to, you know, act like it's not, you know, because it's a growing process. So a concept of nourishing each other is even learning how to fight, right? I like to use the principle of martial art principle of Aikido. You know, Aikido is the art. Many of the martial arts teach striking and punching and, you know, grappling and things like that. But Aikido is one of the arts that teach you don't use force against force. You know, It's almost a non-violent martial art. You know, you take that energy and you redirect it and you neutralize it, you know. So when you fight, there are certain ways that you can fight that don't break each other down, that don't tear each other down. There's actually positive methods to fighting, you know, with your mate that can build each other up, right? And so share with them some of what that looks like with, you know, positive communication skills and poor fighting skills.
Well, there's two types of fighting styles. Like he said, poor communication skills and good communication skills. So the poor communication skills, if you're having an argument, that would be you're criticizing each other. Like, you never do this, or you always do this. Being sarcastic or cynical, right? Rolling your eyes, acting defensively, calling each other names, tuning out. Just be like, all right, you're talking and I'm not even listening. Or you're thinking about what you want to say next instead of listening to what that person is saying, right? And we actually had a big argument before we came to Oakland. So I don't want to make it seem like, you know, we're perfect at all. And we did all those things that I just said is poor communication. But it doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't happen often. We've both been working ridiculous amounts. We've both been stressed. And sometimes you just blow up, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it just happens. But it happens way less than it did when we were younger. Because we're more mature now, and we know that we realize that sometimes in arguments you say things that you can't easily get rid of. You can't take it back, and it lingers, you know? And that lingering thing you said, even though we're not arguing no more, is what tears down, ultimately, relationships over time. You know, because you called me a bitch when we was arguing. And now I can't get that out of my head. You know what I'm saying? You said I was a lazy ass dude. You know, whatever it is, you know. And if you keep saying those things to your partner, that's going to eat away at your relationship. So you can either be right, or you can be happy. And those are kind of things you have to decide, you know, when you are arguing. And you have to really think of your whole life in a scope of, is what I'm arguing about really that important, right? Is it really that important? And so a way to have good communication skills are to express affection while you're arguing. So touch in some kind of way. Hold hands. It is hard to do that. Hold hands, or even just, you know, touch right here. Something like that. That is a way.
Because it's kind of hard to be like, F you when I'm holding your hand. You know what I mean? Like, hold my hand and say that.
And then another way to have good communication is just to concede a certain point that your partner is making. Like trying to be right, leave that alone. It's okay to just let things go, right? And not like let things go like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's like, okay, you know, it's cool, and just let it go, you know. And showing humor, I have yet to try to do that. I haven't been able to do that yet, because it's hard for me to say something funny when I'm mad. But he's good at that, he's good at that. So showing humor. And then sometimes you have to just agree to disagree, right? You're going back and forth on the same points over and over again, you're not getting nowhere. Somebody has to say, you know what, can we just agree to disagree? And then you also want to make up some kind of ritual after you argue, right? So if you argue, don't just be like, okay, the argument is over. You have to come back together and either hug, kiss, make up sex, go on a date, something to bring that energy back to good vibes, right? And if it gets real bad, you might have to meditate with each other, things like that.
Okay, so our question for you on this principle is, what's something that you want to do that you want your mate to be nourishing to you in?
How can they support you?
If you're single, if you don't have a partner, what's one thing that you want to be more nourishing towards yourself? You know, a goal or something that you know you want to invest your time, your energy in that you haven't been. Write that down. What's if you're single, you know, what's something that you want to nourish yourself, nourish within yourself, and you know, if you with a partner, what's something that you want them to help you help nourish, you know, and support. Maybe I want to stop smoking, and I want, you know, my wife to help me, or, you know, whatever it may be for you. And one more question for that section. We talked about the two fighting styles, good communication, poor communication. I think you went into the poor communication. So A and B, right? Which fighting style do you have? And how's that working out for you?
Okay, so that was number 4, which was nourish each other. So now we're on to number 5, which is cultivating intimacy and having a healthy and satisfying sex life. Right? That's important in all relationships. So what that means is you're investing your energy and the communication and creativity and spontaneity, right, within being intimate with each other. And besides just having sex, you're touching, you're kissing, you're hugging, you're flirting to keep the sexual atmosphere in a relationship, right? And you also want to be mindful and considerate of your partner because things change and be able to adapt to change. You might be studying for a big test and you got a whole week of, you just got to focus on that. And your partner has to appreciate that you have that time and you need that time and you need that space, right? So things always constantly change. So it's about appreciating each other's time and space as well.
Indeed. My little 2 cents on that would be to say not to let sex become an addiction. You know what I mean? In general, not to let to be so needy and clingy about, you know, having sex to make that an issue. You know, to make that a tug of war. You know what I mean? In a relationship, to work on mastering that lust factor in yourself, you know, and to look at that as a part of, especially as men, and women too, but as men, that there are other ways for us to express our energy, and we don't have to equate having sex every second with manhood, you know, or, you know, so putting sex in a proper perspective, you know what I mean? Sex does not always equate, you know, how a woman feels about you, or, you know, things like that. It's putting it in perspective so that we're not just going through the motions with having sex. It's like if you don't go to the movies just because it's Friday. You know what I'm saying? It got to be a movie you want to see and you're excited about seeing it. You know, it's not like, it's Friday, yeah, I'm going to go see something, I don't care what it is, you know? So same with sex, you know, do it when you feel passionate, you feel interested, so it doesn't become monotonous and just, you know, just doing it, going through the motions. Yeah.
Okay, I know, you had a question?
I heard everything you said, but I didn't, what was the title of number 5?
Cultivating a healthy and satisfying sex life.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone in here have kids? Okay, few people, cool. So, before I had my son, we have a 13-year-old, I heard a lot of women say that they kind of focused a lot of their energy on their kids and didn't necessarily focus their energy on their mate, right? And you kind of just become so involved in, if you're breastfeeding, you got an infant, and just this whole thing, and then you kind of lose that connection with your partner. Or they'll let their kids sleep in the bed till they're 2 years old, and like all things like that really happen, right? So she's laughing, but that's very true. So women have to be mindful to balance having kids and sex, right? Or intimacy with your partner or your husband, because it's very easy to just kind of focus all your energy on the kids. And I know it's a lot. It's a lot for women to ask. We got a lot going on. We got kids, we got work, we got school, we got to cook dinner, we got all these things, right? But if we couldn't handle it, we wouldn't be given that power as a woman to handle those things. So we have to be mindful of making sure that we're satisfying our men, making sure that we're still keeping our sexy up. After you have kids, you need to still keep your weight down, you still need to stay in shape, and you want to keep that energy and attractiveness for not only yourself, but for your man, right? So that's just something. And because, after your kids leave, or even when they become teenagers, they're not gonna be dealing with you no more. You know what I'm saying? You're only gonna have you and your husband, or you and your boyfriend left after that. So you wanna make sure that you're keeping that relationship strong, even though you have kids.
This is a statistic, one of the things we researched I thought was kind of interesting, is studies say if you have sex every few days, you'll be 55% more happier. So, don't take rocket science to figure that out, but, I think it's important to remember it plays a role in happy relationships.
Okay, so number 6, our 6th principle is forgiveness.
Big one.
6th principle is forgiveness. Man, why is that important? That's how you move forward.
That's right.
Nobody's perfect. We works in progress, and we don't even live up to our own expectations of ourselves. You know what I mean? It's much less living up to everybody else's expectations. So forgiveness is the space that we allow in a relationship to rectify things that hurt each other and to move forward without holding a grudge. It frees the person hurt from holding that negative energy, and it allows the person who did the harm to grow, change, and adapt. It's not like the U.S. court system, you know what I mean, where you guilty, you're in jail for life. You know what I'm saying? It's like we understand that people make choices based on conditions, circumstances, where your consciousness is at. And sometimes we just do dumb shit for dumb shit reasons, But if we don't have the space that people can make mistakes and grow, then there's no way that you can keep a partnership over time. So forgiveness is another one of those points that's key.
Well, I have a statistic. It's estimated that roughly 30 to 60% of all married individuals in the United States will engage in infidelity at some point during their marriage. Somebody's going to cheat on somebody at some point, 30 to 60% of the time, right? And we have dealt with that in our relationship. So, because it was him, right, I had to decide if I was going to forgive this guy or not. And it was hard, and after a lot of drama and stress and poor communication, arguing, and all of those things, at a certain point I had to say, you have to realize that you're going to go through things with anybody that you're with, right? And is the person that you're with worth going through that with, right? So also I had to realize that I had to forgive him for my own mental peace,
That's right.
peace of mind, right? Because if I chose to stay with him or not, I had to let that anger and pain go, and if I didn't, it was gonna follow me the rest of my life. And I've seen a lot of women, as they get older, just become bitter, you know? Say, I ain't got no time for no man, you know, and all this stuff, and they just hold this bitterness, and a lot of that comes from pain that they have never let go. And I said, I refuse to be that, you know, because I have the power, and only I have the power to get rid of those feelings. So if it got so bad and say, you killed the person, you know, you can kill that person, they cannot be there to hurt you anymore, but the memories of what they did to you are still there. And only you have the power to let that go, right? And so that really, forgiveness is really for you more than it is for the other person. And that doesn't mean forget. That doesn't mean let people run all over you and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't mean what they did was right. It just means you're gonna let go of that pain so you can move on and live peaceful, right? So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know, the balance to that is forgiving yourself. You know, recognizing when you make mistakes or you do things that harm your partner, owning your shit and dealing with that, making steps to address it. You know what I mean? Checking inside yourself where you at with it, and as you make those changes and to correct that, you have to forgive yourself. You can't stay stuck in guilt. You can't stay stuck in the past. You got to remove the ego out of it, you know, because nobody is going to be perfect. You know what I mean? And if you recognize, the Buddha says, when you recognize something, then you become responsible. You know what I mean? That's all. And you practice. So forgiveness is for letting yourself move forward. You know what I mean? And it keeps the relationship moving stronger, and we're stronger from these challenges instead of staying stuck in the past. So.
Okay, so we have a question for you guys. Are you holding a grudge on something that is time to let go? Are you holding a grudge on something that you know that it's time to let go? If so, you can write that down.
And question 2 is there something that you want to rectify that you would like to be forgiven for?
Y'all have a question. So as far as forgiveness goes, like how do you know when it draws the line between forgiving and like selling yourself short? Because I can tell a lot of people that I know, I often hear women, especially like black women, they'll say like, well, I've forgiven him even though he's been unfaithful. But for a lot of the brothers I know, a woman cheats, like, we don't even give it a second thought. We just know, oh, it's bad. She did this, there's no forgiving it, and we just move on. So I'm just curious, like when do you know when forgiving becomes like selling yourself short or allowing someone to take advantage of your kindness?
I think that it's different in every scenario, and I think that you have to decide that in that scenario. And it's really about the person who needs to be forgiven. What are they doing? Are they just doing the same thing? Are they humbling themselves up? Are they actually changing? And if they're doing that, then they deserve a chance to be forgiven. But if they're like, oh, you don't forgive me, I'm out, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, well, then you're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over. If you're not even showing that you care, if you're not showing change, if you're not trying to do things to change, then it might be time to just let it go. But I think everyone deserves a second chance. And I think men is more of your ego, right? Then it is like thinking about, you know what? I'm not perfect either. You know, let me give this person another chance. It's different in every scenario. But are you fighting to be here? Do you want to be here? Do you want to change? Then you deserve a chance to be forgiven at least once. You know, at least once. So.
Right on. So that segues right into our final principle, number 7, which is our motto as a team. Teamwork make the dream work. Teamwork make the dream work. And this principle is just recognizing that, you're choosing to be part of a team, right? Sometimes we be in relationships, but really it be selfishness. It's like, I want this, I need this, you need to do this to be with me, blah, blah, blah. But a relationship is a team, and if you look at teams like, Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch, and if you look at teams, their focus, he said it best when they asked him about that last play. He said, football is a team sport, and my solidarity is for my team regardless, and it's about cultivating a team spirit. What is the championship for your relationship, right? What is victory for your union, right? And when you have that vision, that cultivates the team spirit, and so that we might lose a game, we might have an injury, we might have a setback, but we aiming at this championship, and we can look at our averages, and we can look at our overall objectives, as a team. And so we found that is the biggest picture, overall. What are you coming together for?
Yeah, and it's not really about competing with each other, because it's easy, it's possible to be jealous, of the person that you're with, or envious, or always in competition, but it's more about how can you both compromise and come to the same goals, whether it be money or children or all these things. Is how are you going to get from one A to B, but do it together with compromise and love for each other as a team.
And also, what we feel, you hear the term power couple, right? What we feel like, what makes you a power couple is that your union serves others, Your union empowers others, So how does, you being with your partner help your family? How does it help your children? How does it help your community? How does it help the planet? This is how we bring that team spirit to empowering those around us. We believe that's the purpose of marriage, of relationship, right? Is to make, what's the fabulous song? I'm a force by myself, or movement by myself, but we're a force when we're together. So, that's the purpose, is how can we come together to serve a higher purpose,
And one way that we show teamwork is we share responsibility, with our son. He travels a lot, but when he's home, we switch off on who's waking up early in the morning to take him to school and who's picking him up. Also, we don't have stereotypical roles. We don't allow stereotypes to run our household. So, a lot of people say the man fixes everything and he does this, but he calls me handy girl because I fix everything in the house. I fix the toilets, I fix the sinks, I build the shelves, what I'm saying? I do all of that, and so it's not really about a head of the household. It's the man of the house, there's a woman of the house. Who has what strengths in certain areas, and whatever you do best, that's your role. You know what I'm saying? So you know your role and you play your position. And you let that person handle those things. So I think that is important, because sometimes we allow stereotypes to make us make decisions or how we're going to have our family. But it's really just who does what best and roll with that.
Just a quick question. A lot of people do believe in that head of the household stereotypes type stuff, and the beliefs around it are that it causes confusion. That if you don't have one head, that it's going to make chaos in the house. And so how has having that, is it confusing, or is it more workable, more cooperative? How do you feel about running things that way?
Well, I mean, I feel you, though. That's a great point. It's like, I guess I had a realization along the path that I don't have to be the head of the house, but I have to be the man of the house, you know? And nobody else can do that, you know? No one can be the woman of the house. And she has to be the woman that she is, you know, and her strengths. And it would be foolish to let my ego or some tradition make us miss out on her values and the contribution that she has in running the house just because of some ego. You know what I mean? I'm terrible at fixing stuff. Nothing wouldn't work if that was the case. You know what I'm saying? So I think realizing that she knows she can't be the man of the house, right? Allows me to feel like a lion and all that, you know what I mean? And I know I don't want to be the woman of the house, but we don't let society define what that means. You know what I mean? We you know, yin and yang is, you know, masculine and feminine, but each side of the yin and yang has a little bit of the other. And that's balance. So we just, you know, we striving for that. And basically we both try to keep our egos in check. You know what I mean? Because women are bosses just like men. And so we have to, you know, work that out. And it's more about, like we said, we know what our championship ring look like. So the little petty stuff, if it's gonna stop us from getting to the championship, then we gotta let it go.
And that's something we had to grow into, too, you know, because we've been together for so long. And I grew up in a family of matriarchal women. So it's very strong women, head of the house, running things. They not trying to hear shit. Like what I say goes, you know what I'm saying? And so he had to deal with a little bit of that for a little while with me, you know what I'm saying? And then I had to realize I had to balance out my yin side, my feminine side, you know, and allow his yang to shine, you know? So I think, and I think black women, because a lot of us grow up in homes without fathers, we have that, you know, we have that tendency to just try to overrun everything, you know? So it's about, you know, just hold up, chill out, you know? It's someone here to help you, you know? You ain't gotta do it all yourself, you know? He has a large role, you know what I'm saying, in our family, in our household. So allowing us to just be our best selves, which is where that comes from too, so. Okay, so for our last questions and our last principle of teamwork makes the dream work. If you're in a relationship right now, why are you in one? Right? Why are you even in a relationship?
And the second question for this principle is, how is your relationship going to benefit others? So yeah, just to sum up the 7 principles that we talked about today, man. Number 1 was friendship. Number 2 was self-development. Number 3 was 5 love languages. And that book was by Gary Chapman, Chapman. Number 4 was nourish each other. Number 5, cultivate intimacy and a healthy and satisfying sex life. Yeah, baby. Number 6 was forgiveness, healthy doses of that. And number 7, teamwork, make the dream work. Number 2, self-development.
Yes. The 5 love languages is number 3.
The author was Gary Chapman, Chapman. And you can go to 5lovelanguages.com and take the quiz and just, get the full deal with that concept. It's awesome.
So I want to thank everybody for being here and for having us. And if anyone has any other questions they want to ask, we can open the floor for questions now.
Well, thank you